to the October Green Line Extension Disadvantaged Business and Workforce Advisory Committee. I'd like to thank and welcome all of our committee members and alternates that are joining us in person for this meeting this month. As this meeting is being recorded by the Metropolitan Council. Anything you say can and will be, no, I'm just we thought it was definitely a good idea to periodically meet in person. I do think there are benefits to meeting in person and making those connections that you can't really get via the virtual setting. Also, we do have some guests here that will be part of our agenda today, and also want to thank them as well for joining us in this meeting. With that, and given that we are in person, my co-chair, how do you want to do roll call? Are we just going to collect it from the sign-in sheets?
Yep. So Ken, if you haven't already, make sure you sign in on those sheets that are table up.
And with that, I will turn it over to, well, the reports went out. We do have drafts. If you don't have a copy of the reports, I think they're out there on the table. And they were also sent out ahead of the meeting. Were there, hopefully folks had a chance to visit the minutes. And if there are any corrections or changes that need to be made to the minute, you can let us know now or follow up with either myself or Tyler, and we'll make sure that that gets corrected. With that, I will turn it over to Tyler.
Thank you. Just to follow up on that, I'll open it up if there are any edits or changes to the minutes that anyone would like to have reflected. None, yep, they are in your packet. So again, if you get a chance to look over it at any point, just let me know, or Ashante, and yeah, feel free to send an email follow-up after meeting if you notice something after the fact too. So if there are no edits to the minutes from our prior meeting, we can move on to the project update portion.
Where I get to do my spiel. Thank you, Brad Odegaard. I'm the construction manager for Systems and SCADA. I'm filling in for Nick Dial today. He had a conflict, so I'll be walking you through the slides for the project update for work accomplished since our last meeting. So go on the next slide. Left two. So this is vertical circulator at Westlake Street Station. This is the west circulator. The two vertical circulators at Westlake are the last vertical circulators that we need to complete on the project. LMJB continues to make good progress here. On the west side, we've got basically the whole structure in place. They're getting the decorative metal panels in. Mechanicals continues. Really starting to come together and get to that final look. So next slide. Obviously the bulk of the work that we're doing right now is related to the Kenilworth Tunnel. Here we're in the boat section leading Railroad East coming out of Westlake Street Station. So you can just barely see the Sika condominium building in the background here. So this is as we dive down, the portal will be just down where you can see sort of the next level of supportive excavation in there. Next slide. Sidewall construction in the boat as well continues here. You know, as you can see, there's an awful lot of rebar to get in place before we can get the concrete placed. And prior to that, there's all the shotcreting and of the SOE and waterproofing that goes on. Next slide. Here you can see the waterproofing in cell West 15. So this is right around the start of the actual tunnel itself. So leveling slabs have been placed here. Shotcreting is complete. I think shotcreting is complete throughout the entire tunnel at this point in time, and that contractor or that sub has demowed off the site. So continue to make good progress. Really looking forward to getting these activities completed and moving on. So next slide. So here was some of the last shotcreting that was installed in the tunnel to get the supported excavation to a position where they could install waterproofing. So this is in CW13, which is very close to the secret condominium building at this point. Next slide. In September, we had an opportunity to perform quite a lot of work over an overnight shutdown of the freight rail through the corridor. So this is some of the work that took place. We had to get a number of duct banks underneath the new freight alignment. So this is tying the Kenilworth Tunnel into the substation and tunnel system sites. Next one. More shots of the work during the most recent shutdown. Here you can see I'm doing the freight track scooch. As a result of that, we were able to place the freight tracks into their final alignment through the Cedar Lake Parkway junction. So there will be some additional work that needs to happen next year to finalize the road surface and the trail and sidewalk connections here. But the freight track is now in its final alignment, so all of the rest of the activities at that location will be able to be completed next year. Next slide. Also 21st Street crossing, so this is right at 21st Street Station. You can just see the ramp to the station on the right. This got some additional work done to it, and so now basically all of the roadway and pedestrian improvements have been completed at this time. Continued, so this is some off-guideway work in Minneapolis along Fremont Street. This is sidewalk, street, curb, and trail reconstruction that's going on in those areas. Next slide. Moving closer into Target Field, this is the Royalston Holden area with Royalston Street Station, just the Royalston Avenue Station there in the background. This is the embedded track that comes off the bridge coming out of the BNSF alignment. And so track is substantially complete through here, and we're just trying to get the roadways completed and really get them in condition for winter season. There will be some additional work that we'll have to do next spring. And then as we actually lead into Target Field Station here on the 5th, 7th LRT bridge, you can see us, all the direct fixation rail has been placed at this point in time. All the splits are in place. And some of the other subs like railings and electrical are doing conduit installations and getting those buttoned up. This bridge is also just about complete at this point in time, and will soon be turned over to the systems contractor. Hopkins Rail Support Facility. So this is a new contract that we've just gotten going. So this is the rail support facility in Hopkins to support operations. So we've started site prep. Getting the site down to rough grade, removing some unsuitable soils, those type of activities here. You can see them loading out some of the overburden. Next slide. they started to cut in for foundations. They're actually working on, their plan is to get the parking lot and everything in place before winter freeze up and have foundations in by Christmas. And then we're just waiting on the structural steel for the building to come through shops and fabrication, and then they'll start getting that stood up as well. Systems contract work. So this is APJB, Alders Parsons. So start installation of the intrusion detection systems. This is at Prairie Center Drive Bridge. So these are the, you can see the two black beam walls right at the abutment of the bridge, and then we have the cameras with the horns and the strobes that monitor that site. So we have intrusion detection systems on most of our elevated structures as well as our tunnels. Next slide. On the west half, we've gotten quite a bit of work done with regard to the traction power substation. So here you see we've got final grading in place, and we started putting up the permanent site fencing around all of those traction power substation sites. So starting to get real close to the finish. We've got a little bit of bituminous paving left at these sites, as well as landscaping, which will probably come next year. Signals teams are working on doing wayside installation. So this is at Wooddale, putting in the pedestrian crossings around the station. On platform work continues as well. So the communications crew is shown here pulling all the cabling for all the platform devices. So we've got cameras, speakers, microphones, video display, video messaging systems, all on the platform. Those are all getting wired up here. We also, in the last 3 weeks, have installed actually 3 new traction power substations in the Minneapolis area. So shown here are the installations of substation 317, which is in the Bryn Mawr Kenilworth area, and then 319, which is right near I-94. And then 318, this was the last substation in Minneapolis. This was a couple weeks ago when we were getting the foundations in place. This substation was actually installed yesterday. And then up at the Royalston Avenue Holden location, we've got a roadway grade crossing there where the tracks come into the actual roadway. So they're doing the underground work here for the grade crossing house that covers that grade crossing. That's it. Any questions about project process? I mean, really, we continue to make excellent progress. Obviously, we had a great year with the lack of winter conditions last spring and winter. I'm sure everyone's crossing their fingers to get another big work window out of it, but it remains to be seen. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, I think we did ask the last time and did get confirmation that mild winter did give us some opportunity to advance in the schedule that we probably wouldn't have otherwise. So that is definitely a good thing. Definitely not expecting that to be the case this winter. So anyways, next on our agenda, as I mentioned, we have special guests. Yes, Jolene is
Didn't know I was a special guest until I seen her. I'm like,
Got the word very.
Very. But really in our effort to learn and improve on both of our processes and in specificity to small business participation on these large contractors, it's important for us to understand their experience from their perspective, successes, challenges, opportunities, and that we can apply to our other projects that we have coming up. So with that, we have Jolene Hansen from Hansen Custom Crushing to talk about their experience on this project and tell us what they found out. I don't know if you have slides, but I'm going to turn it over to you, Jolene.
I have no slides.
I can make.
What do I think about this project? What would be my overall? As a small business, it was a trying 3 years, and part of that was the whole COVID that kicked into it that made it even a little bit more. I will say that I am thankful for the relationships that I had with McCrossin and Lunda before, because those were very helpful when it came to some of these hurdles that I had to jump through. Overall, I would say that, let's just say it's not one of those projects that we walked away and said, we're not doing that again, because we've had those before. So it was, I think the scheduling, the paperwork, the requirements on meetings, reporting, good faith effort for a small business that is a lot of extra time that we don't have someone in our offices that do it. It's me. So if there's a meeting, a monthly meeting, or a every 2-week meeting, along with the other projects that we're on, those are taking time out of a small business, of them getting their daily operations together. And then, like, a good example is I have always been one that's attended the good faith stuff for hiring and getting people into new jobs and apprentices and that. Back before this job, so 2020, over the past couple of years, we've hired people because we've had some retire. Otherwise, during that time, I had not hired anyone for 4 years. So I'm going to these events, trying to kind of promote the other people that are there, which is great. I'm, part of my duty, but it's also taking the time out of my day, which means that I work at night. So overall, on this project, I would say I had a good experience. When it came to the price changes with everything going on and the escalation on everything, that was a little tricky because I still had a portion of my project that I had to complete, and we had gotten a little bit more. There was more material, which was a plus for us, but I wasn't going to go in and commit to losing money on more material. And of course, they're asking for all kinds of different stuff that doesn't pertain to me.
Explain that.
Oh, just, the pricing on your rates on, basically look at my steel and look at my fuel, and we were at 22%. I think what I ended up going across the board was I asked for 15% because there was more quantity, so we figured that we could make it up and come to a happy medium because we didn't want to get into a battle where I signed a contract, even though that contract had been redone multiple times over the 3 years. There was the waiting game of it, and it all came through, but then it was the getting paid. And there again, for a small business, we send the paperwork to them, they send it to the other people. 10 to 13 people, I think, have to touch it before it comes back. I've ran into it, and a lot of times I found out it wasn't mine, it was whatever went in with the whole pay thing. So mine got caught up because someone else's pay thing wasn't correct. And I remember 2 payments on this project, and I remember I'm a small business, so I'm collecting sales tax and forking that out on the 20th of every month, 50 grand, along with all the rest. I remember 2 checks on here specifically. One was like for $466,000. So that's a time period. There's a lot of invoices in there. And then again, there was another one, and those were 90-day out. So it was challenging in that. Let's just say I've been doing this for a long time, so I know the curves and stuff, but that could very easily put a small business out of business real quickly. And I run onto it on other projects, and I don't have any control. The people that I'm working with, I do trust them, work with them long enough that I know that their paperwork is going somewhere. They're not one of those companies that you're sending it into and they're not turning their stuff in on time. So I don't know where the disconnection is. And I think what it is we have so much paperwork and so many, it's like we're putting obstacles in the way instead of taking care of the obstacles that need to be taken care of. I understand the whole thing of, you know, getting people into the construction industry. I also understand some people don't belong in the construction industry, and that's where I kind of struggle when I have to go and try to get people to come in. I have a hard time finding people that are qualified. If I have 2 people on a plant, I've got someone loading, I got someone, the ground guy, running the crusher. If one of those people don't show up, the job doesn't run. That's not, you know, we have an apprentice, he's doing fabulous, but we also don't have the extra people to, we don't have a buddy
Fill
system.
in.
Right, we don't, it's not like, hey, I'm gonna put you on this with this for the guy for the week, because that means that I have to shut another crusher down. So if I have 5 plants running, I gotta shut a crusher down, I've just costed myself quite a bit of money, and we're union. So I've cost myself money and I'm spending a lot of money that I'm not making. So when it comes to small businesses and projects and working on something like this, it's very time consuming and draining. And what I think happens, and I noticed it going to the meetings, because I would try to attend all the meetings I could, and it was the same handful of people. And I wondered, where are all these other people that are supposed to be here fulfilling their commitment? And yes, I understand everyone is busy. I'm busy too. But then it becomes, if you put too many obstacles in the way, it becomes, how do we get around those obstacles instead of even trying? I mean, I did get to the point where I was like, yeah, I can't even, the Zooms during COVID and trying to keep up and good, you know, trying to help other people along. It was like, I got like 7 Zooms and all I do is crush rock. I mean,
Jolene, could you, because I'm trying to disseminate it as I'm hearing you, and I appreciate that you're giving us all this information. Can you tell, when you say those meetings, so can you kind of identify what meetings are you required to be to, and what is the purpose of the meetings that you're going to? And then you talk about hiring fairs, is that part of the meetings you're talking about? I'm just trying to get a picture of like, as we're going forward and we're trying to determine, you know, on the next projects, how much we require of people. What is it that you're having to do that's required as part of your contract? What are you required because of the council? And what are you doing because you're just Jolene that does as much as she can?
I am finding in contracts that it is written if, say, the prime does not meet their good, if it does not meet the goals, that they can withhold a portion of mine if I don't help them meet the goals. So let's say
Including good faith efforts as part of the goals, not the goals, the 32 and 20%, the goals meeting our workforce development.
yes,
Thank
yes.
you.
So if they come back and say, we didn't meet it and you didn't provide any because you only had 2 people on this crew and they both happen to be white males, show us what you're doing to diversify your group of people. I'm going to these job fairs, although I'm not hiring because I don't have positions, but I'm going on the Zoom meetings of what are you doing, and I think that on this project and multiple other ones, you have to kind of say, how are you gonna meet the goal, or what do you think your goal is gonna be? Well, I do have 3 people that go towards the goals, and myself, but I don't know what job they're going to be on. So I'm filling out a piece of paper and I'm saying, okay, well, I'm gonna go 50%, hoping something. Then I go to the meeting in the month and then it's like, okay, you thought you were gonna be at this %, but you're at 0. What are you doing to increase that? Well, I'm not gonna move my people from site to site because I have specific, specialized, trained people that work together. So then it's kind of like you get the naughty stick. So it's like, okay, I know I'm not gonna be able to meet the goal, so I'm gonna go to these things to show my good faith efforts.
I'm curious because I was told in talking with one of the unions, because one of my other members had this problem as well, and they said, I just don't have time to go to all these meetings. And the union said, you put on there that your union and that they can reach out to us to see what the union is doing, and that's what counts as their good faith efforts, because we provide their labor.
That is not correct, because I've been told on the sheets that were sent in, like I will, there's the Easter seals, the Goodwill, the union, yes, we're a union, we have to, the union tells us what we can or can't do. Now, if we can get a person, and we've done this before, and put them into the union, we sponsored them, but now I've gotta go out, get the person, train them, and yes, so no, I did not have that, but I heard that in a meeting that someone's like, we're union, and it's like, that's not a good answer. So that's
Typically,
where I
you're
would
that more
go
on
to the
the licensed
construct
side.
or the high school events or whatever, was out there, so. And I just kinda, the bad thing was, is I'm sitting there and it's like, why could I be filling out applications, but we're not hiring,
Which, we've talked about that, and you guys both, Met Council and Human Rights. I am so honored to have Jolynn here today because of her very small, people-wise business, but important business that has been on this project and the struggles that her and I have talked about since day one. And I'm glad you're bringing it up because this is honest, true, hard things that a lot of the businesses on the project, but mainly the smaller ones, are struggling with. Workforce is a big piece, we need to talk about that, but also let's dial back to the very beginning piece, that payment piece too, which we've had meetings with other DBEs about the payments and stuff, so those are a couple really
Perfect
strong.
example there is, so we get the contract, I pull a bond in March of 2019. I don't get a payment on that bond. I don't even start on the job until, July of whatever. I get zero payment. So I've got $20,000, $30,000 just hanging out there. Then when I finally do get a payment, they hold retainage on it, on my bond.
John, can you write that down?
Yeah. And I've questioned this on multiple different projects, but I'm like, well, that's kind of, I got one right now. I didn't pull the bond on it yet. I haven't requested it because it's like,
'Cause
it
I
was
think-
2 years out, and I'm like, okay.
For
so
those of us that don't do construction, I think oftentimes what we've heard for as long as I've been in here is, oh, insurance and bonding is a barrier. Okay, but that's a specific thing as to why. So you can bond the project, but it's still a barrier because you have to pay
Because
for
I have to
that
pay
and you
out
don't
that.
get any money back for a timely manner.
Right.
So if something in the contract said bonding needed to be paid out at the time of signing the contract, that could be billed, would that be helpful?
Yeah, then I billed it, but I didn't get paid.
And then
But
repaying
let's-
it just held on.
Yeah.
What do you mean you billed it but didn't get paid? Explain that.
I invoiced it,
Mhm.
not on this project, but on the Gold Line project, for example, too. I mean, there was a bond on this one too, which went out, but I invoiced it and I did not get paid because we weren't working on the project. So there was nothing, it was kind of like, well, you're not working on the project. It's like, yeah, but
So it's like a supplier basically. I
Yes,
bought the supplies, they haven't been
Yes.
delivered, my
Yes.
money is out in credit, and we can't get paid yet
Yes.
until it hits the site.
So it wasn't part of mobilization, you had no mobilization?
I think the project was supposed to start it was supposed to
was
start
delayed.
multiple times, so I think that was part of it. So, Joe, those things with a small business that only has so much money, those things are important, is that if there's a way to fine tune it, that would be fabulous.
Dale,
The
is
whole
retainage
payment.
held, by the council, or is retainage held by the general contractor on Fox?
Council.
The whole way.
So everything is 5%.
Yes,
I don't know what it is
That
on
goes
Gold
to-
Line.
no,
It's like
it was on
permits.
Gold Line too,
It's
because
any
I called
hard
you and
costs
talked
like
to you about
permits
that,
and
and you
bonds
thought
should
that
be
it
paid out.
had been paid, you didn't
That
know there
doesn't
was
have
a
anything to do with
retainage,
the
and I
work
was like,
product.
yeah, because you knew about all my invoices there,
Yeah.
but it hadn't been paid out because something was wrong somewhere, and the train stopped, and until I started saying, hey, where's the train stopped? We need to get it going. And this time when we've been back to Gold Line, it's been much better. But yes, so yeah, the whole retainage thing there, and then like I said, the payment timing, I would say I don't get paid, it's 90 days before I get paid on these, and I'm billing weekly. I understand that maybe, the Prime's not sending it in weekly, they're doing a monthly pay rate, but I know my stuff is not coming in on the 31st and getting missed on the month that it's supposed to go in. So yeah, those are things that I would just say, but yes, I just think the paperwork burden, it's, you know, I mean, even I'm putting everything into Ashtaware or LCP Tracker, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, we need these reports too, manual reports, and it's like, isn't that stuff going somewhere?
Talk about that. Seriously, like how does that all work? And that's important to me because I'm hearing that from a number of DBEs, not just with Met Council, but MnDOT, so talk to me
I don't
about
even
that.
know what forms they are, but I will on these projects be putting in the payroll like I'm supposed to, which am trying to like check payments received, but that's not working. And then all of a sudden it'll be like, oh, can you fill out these forms? And I can't even think the FW forms and, you know, and it's, I'm like filling them out and I'm like looking at my reports I put in, and it's like, do they, you know?
It's the same data.
Didn't I
We
already
tried-
do this, you know, this is duplicating?
Yes, and in the beginning, you
Yeah.
know, years back, I thought when they were starting up, it's like, okay, it's cross-checking, but it's still cross.
So Council on Human Rights, again, this is something
It's
we've
not
talked.
us.
I'm talking in a group, I'm addressing the two co-chairs, you know. This is something we have talked about in previous meetings, about the duplication of work.
Is it necessary, or is it
And
just
it's
not
all in
being
LCP
called?
Tracker. It has to be, we have to utilize it, it is utilized by the general contractors, but also our subcontractors. And then, so it's entered on a monthly basis, you know, weekly, whatever, LCP Tracker. And then we, as the contractors, ask our subs for it and ask our teams for it, put it together. Oh wait, we're pulling it from LCP Tracker and presenting it back to you again. So
So if
there's,
something's double being done, maybe
advocacy.
we can,
Yeah, no, this is, not during my time here at the council, but when I was with MnDOT, this is definitely, from a customer perspective, something that was a focus of certified payroll and workforce reporting needs to be one, and it should be one. And I was gonna save this till later, but that's definitely something that we wanna hear from contractors on this project relative to LCP Tracker. I did follow up with LS Black before they left the project, and others, but that's the stuff I wanna understand the experience of LCP Tracker, because, and other, I need to be careful what I say, but
not me.
we need to, no, not you, but again, we're going to have, this is going to be an issue of how we track this information for Blue Line. So I'm the one saying, hold on, you know, are we married to this? So those conversations are happening, but some of this is new information that I'm hearing. So it's good. So I didn't mean to interrupt you, so please.
Nope, those are just things, I just kind of feel like things are being double done. I feel that certain groups are like, oh, we're gonna put this in place because we wanna improve this, or these goals that I see, I look at them and I think, I'm sorry, but I don't personally have a lot of women, minorities, or that knocking on my door that it seems like people think are out there coming into the construction. Now, I am small and I am crushing, there's not a lot of people maybe that are interested in that. But even I don't hear it out on the streets or that, so I look at these goals and it's like, wow, so when I'm filling these sheets out and it's like, oh, well, you know, with this, you're expected to have this, and it's like, or aim to this. And aim in, and then like I said, you get the little naughty stick, even if it's like, I don't have, these are the people that I have. What are you doing to increase and diversify your workforce? I mean, I think I'm very fortunate with 15 people that I have 4 that, you know, I never thought I'd have any, but so sometimes I look at these goals and I think the goals are making people find loopholes, and also people say, huh, never mind, can't do it. I mean, that's kind of what I felt in the meetings. It's like, okay, you wanna see my good faith efforts? I'm just trying to run a company, and we do take applications. If someone calls, it's like, send an application in, we're gonna put it in our file, and then if we do have an opening, because that's kind of how it works sometimes, then we'll go back there and, you know, see. We had one female apply, we were very interested in it, I was familiar with her, I had known her different, she worked for Ames for a while, And I said, I was very excited. She ghosted us. It was like, so of course I knew someone that knew her, so I said, you know what, tell her that's not the way, I think she went to another one, a little more local place. So I look at the goals and I think, maybe if we were a little bit more realistic, people would have a little bit more, you know what, I'm gonna try to hit this. I'm gonna take this apprentice on and I'm gonna spend a little bit of money, not go belly up, but I'm gonna give him, so but yeah, that's my 2 cents. But now I'm looking at this report because sometimes I think the information that's going in and coming out. So I'm just looking at me on this report, trying to understand it. Because I know me, but, okay, so what is this saying? Whoever does this report, what's it saying?
John?
What part of the
Okay,
report?
the very first column,
The very-
Jolene.
Yep,
Original DBE bid commitment, that's what you originally did.
yep,
Okay. Your current contract value,
Yep.
1 million, that's what that was.
I'm in agreement.
The 491, that was the additional between what you originally counted and then what your final contract was. So that's the 491,000, is the additional money you got on the project.
Yep.
Okay, then total previously billed, looks like you've only billed 600,000 of the 1.
That's where I'm lost.
0.84. I know, there's
need
a
another
lot
check.
of them on here where I looked at it and I go, none of these numbers are.
Looking
right.
I'm
there,
guessing
aren't
you've
you?
been paid and that's not right.
You have been paid, I have been paid, and that is not right, thank you.
Are you sure you want to pay them?
But that's not.
Those are 2-month lag.
Where are
It's a
we going
2-month
on
lag,
vacation?
right?
No.
This is
A
as
2-month
of,
lag?
Yeah.
this is as of August
She's
31st.
been
Okay,
done
I was
for a long
paid-
She's
time.
been done.
I was finished in 22.
So
So
as I
that's
was
where
looking
I
at
was
some of these
just-
other ones, I saw a few of them where I'm like, these aren't mentioned.
Well, and
in
So
I'm
the
not
question-
gonna pick on them, I'm just
No, the
picking on,
question
is
I
the
have-
information correct, and if it isn't,
Where's
Why?
my money?
Why is
report
it
is
incorrect? So that would
Yes.
be my answer. Is it, John, is this reporting into CMS or some other that is not being reported?
No.
Where's this pulled from?
So-
E-Builder?
This is what's being supplied to us by LMJV on a monthly basis and being reported into CMS. What is not in here is if you are including the settlement payments. If there's any settlement payments that are involved, we are excluding that out of this because we don't count that for DBE credit. So whatever the,
The delay.
Yeah, no, I get it, but I think in Jolene's case or Hanson, I believe the settlement payment might have been 100 or 150,
yeah, it
something
wasn't,
like
yeah, it
that.
wasn't very much.
That most of the overrun on the job was due to increased quantity that we paid per.
Right.
So I would expect to see that it'd be something higher than that. I don't know, and like John is correct, we go in every month and we've got to validate. We get payments for DBEs from the Met Council for all the work we do. We've got to do an accounting of what was paid to who and when. And then we got to go back into CMS and say, well, yep, we verify that we were paid this and it was paid on this date, so and so. So there's all kinds of opportunities for either
Yeah, I was
stuff
gonna
not
say, it
getting
would be
reported,
less than
human
100
error,
grand.
accounting errors here.
So I was just looking at it because I did sit on the MnDOT collaborative for multiple years. And we get reports and it's like, if the reports aren't correct, why do we have reports?
That's what I see,
And I just noticed on mine that we have been done, and so that's why I was just asking.
No, that's,
So
it's
then
good.
when I look at additional, the amount unpaid, to me, a contractor that's already done, that would be retainage that's sitting there, waiting to pay them out. If I were to look at this and say logically, what should that be showing me?
I would think maybe the unpaid would be the
Right.
29 if it was retainage type
Right.
thing, but it's a whole bit.
I
Let's
thought
watch
that had
that
been
check.
resolved, that if a contractor was finished, that their retainage would be returned.
Yes.
And if you've been done this long,
And retainage had been paid out, because after I was paid out for the fine, like
Well, then they
months
got-
later,
they
I
got
sent a letter,
30,000
Dale
for
said
you,
send a
left
letter,
in
and they
your
did,
pocket.
so it's,
okay, good.
yeah, so I've been done for, that's why when I was looking at it, I'm like, okay, this isn't.
So my thing is, who can we follow up with at LMJV who reports this information so that we can make sure whatever's in here is correct?
Yeah, well,
It's Nick, Dial, and LMJ.
yeah, so our accounting department, so you can follow up to see what we submit, but I mean, this is, you don't even need us. You can go right into CMS and see what we told you. And if that is in fact what we told you, and I don't know that it is, because this is something else that's, I don't know how that's produced.
Well, that's what I'm hearing. That's why I went to John first, and that's what I'm hearing from John, is that everything that we get from you goes into CMS, and that's what's generating
But
this.
if things are in decision mode, the approval, those 10 people that get to approve, what I wonder is when we submit, is that information, when we're requesting payment for our subcontractors and us, and it has to go through that approval stage, the review of change orders with supporting documents and all that, that might be where the difference is when we're seeing it, because if it's
It
in the
stops
approval thing,
somewhere.
it might not be showing right.
I would offer an opinion in that these are this is progress. This is just trying to track. It's no different than our progress payments. It's a
Schedule-wise.
it's a
It is
schedule.
scheduled.
Here's how we're tracking. It's showing you trends. Are you making the trend or the goal, or are you not? And so to get month over month to get spun out on, well, this was $50 wrong or $10,000 wrong. And I
Yeah, I
don't know
guess-
that that's
Yeah.
Yeah. like
really
40%
meaningful?
don't fix it.
No, I guess I guess from my standpoint, it could be multiple things, and I don't know that any of us know for sure sitting here. So I guess what I want to know is, let's get the right people talking that can get us the answers. That's what I'm saying. Between the council folks and the LMJV folks, let's get that conversation because, yeah, for me, it's uncomfortable, and I don't like being in a position where I'm in the unknown, and that bothers me. So
And
I want to
Ashante,
know.
just, because I know I've been bitching about this for the last couple of meetings, that these aren't matching, this is driving me crazy, is that, to your point where it's a progress, that was what when we developed this on Central Corridor, long before you guys were all here, that's what this was intended for. And that's why I'm always saying, well, it's very important for me to see the contract changes to date, right? But then to look at it, like I'm looking at B&L right now, you guys, and I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, we're way farther than just 50%. So where are they with payments? Because if I look at him, he's supposed to have $2 million on his contract, he's been paid $867. When is the rest of his work coming in? And that should be something that Krista and Dale can answer and say, well, B&L Supply, they're bringing in the end of they're coming in next year and they're doing the last bit of thing. But if we don't have that because this is wrong, this could go in the shredder and I don't need to be here looking at it, right? So, I'm with you. We need accuracy on this. And if this is duplication because it's being done 3 different ways, that's just as no different than her workforce stuff.
Right.
We can't
I agree.
rely on it.
Yes. No,
And we have been having the conversations with Nick regarding these, we've specifically had one with one BBE here at this table, for a different meeting regarding it, and a lot has to do with how long it takes for a change order to be approved, and what documents need to be provided, and how they need to be provided, and it's been an interesting roller coaster.
well,
But I
that was
think
actually,
progress, yes, I think we need to.
and not that I want to move off of this, but that was actually one of the follow-up questions that I wanted to, because I've heard this from the GC, from large contractors, large subs, DBE, small contractors, that the paperwork and the approval process is different, and the requirements, and especially they cite their experience at MnDOT, and I'm thinking USDOT is the governing body for FTA and MnDOT. Please talk about what you mean by the differences and how the process works, the paperwork involved. Why is that challenging and present, especially, I can only imagine how challenging and that might be for a small business, but I'm not only hearing this from small business, and I'd like to understand it better.
I just, we have MnDOT Collaborative this week, leadership team, and one of those things came up with a follow-up email to us as well from a larger contractor saying, why are you requiring more forms of duplication of things than the DOT does, and Ashtaware, and so it's this moving thing, and now with the new rules, there's gonna be how many more new pieces of paper that we've seen that are gonna have to come with the affidavits and all of these other pieces. And I think people are gonna choose to, and I'll just pick on you, they're gonna choose to do way less public work, even though they're situated well for it, and they could meet goals very well for it, and be doing more private work like Jolynn is, because she makes more money and spends less time.
Less paperwork and less requirements.
No, it's information that, actually, before I came here, I was in St. Paul talking to our executive leadership. And one of the things that came up was the bonding and retainage issue. And
I'm gonna throw insurance on there too, because that one's coming too. I just had one that came in that we went in on a kind of an emergency. The person who was doing it, they couldn't get there, so they said, can you come in and put up like 25,000? Yep, I got the contract after, I read it through, going through, they wanted me to have a $10 million umbrella. I'm like, yeah, I ain't signing this, and it ain't. Then they went back down to the 5 million because it was, whatever, but still, 5 million for what I do is, and it all costs, just put it in your number, they said. And I'm like, I'm gonna outprice myself for all my customers.
That happens.
And I've just seen it more because it's kind of like, okay, these people want this, and then they're kind of, everyone's covering it. It's like, I'm not gonna be able to afford it, not to mention that what I do is a service, manufacturing, I have to charge sales tax. So if someone does it themselves, they charge sales tax on the raw material. That raw material might be, they're gonna say it's $1 a ton. I'm charging sales tax on $4 a ton, or $3, or $5. So I'm already that far behind, then tack on some more for insurance, then tack some more on for an extra person to fill out all these forms.
And you don't get the project.
Then yes, then I'm fully capable to do a project that I don't get because I'm too high.
Yep. No, in some cases too, we're paying for that.
Absolutely.
Either way, so it's in our interest to get those insurance rates at the appropriate amounts for the appropriate type of work. So yes, those conversations are happening. Not to say they have an immediate answer for this project, but definitely this is the information that is good for me to be able to bring to that conversation.
Do you want me to stop now?
Can I jump in for 1 second?
Yes, I want others to jump in. I've got lots of stuff to say, but yeah, I want others to jump in.
So going back to good faith efforts and different efforts that you're in to show good faith, or even finding workforce, building strong communities, is that organization that can help you find it. So over the last 2 years, we placed 109 people in 22 different occupations within the trades. So we had 105 graduates last year and 62 the year before. So we can be that organization that helps you. Right? We're created by the trades, for the trades, for workforce.
And do you send your people up like to the apprentice program, like in the 49ers then? They kind of come through you and then go up there?
Yeah, they actually go to the 49ers and will sit in their 4-week ART. So that apprenticeship training that they have.
Steve is,
Steve
yeah,
Chewy.
because I'll ask him sometimes too, hey, what do you have up there? And he knows what we do.
Yeah.
And then of course what scares people off is working out of town, working 60, 70 hours a week, working year round. A lot of them are like, those many hours, but that's good to know because then, like Steve, what do you have? You know what we do. You've seen the personalities and mentalities.
Well, we have, our class is 12 weeks long, the course is 12 weeks long, so it's an immersion into the industry, so 8 weeks of learning all about the different occupations that we have. It's virtual, they go to site tours, they do mock interviews, Ocean 10, for 8 weeks long. They listen to all the subject matter experts from all the trades, day in the life of a 49er, labor, whatever
So they
that
really
trade
upped their
is.
program from years before.
So Rick,
It was like-
Jolene's experience was the first year Building Strong Communities was created for the light rail project. Jolene has been involved with Building Strong up until 2 years ago when she was off the project.
Yeah.
So, she's
So
got
I've
a
been-
great piece
And
with the
then
mock
we've had 2 or
interviews.
3 people retire, so now we're replacing those
Yeah.
ones, so we're kind of in the
So
zone of
perfect.
where, and I made a specific, we need to breed our next crew. We don't need just a body, we don't take a person off, send them back to the union, take a person off, we need to build someone with, we're kind of a unique mentality with,
Let's
so that's
talk.
good,
Let's
that's
talk.
good.
Yeah.
Perfect.
That would be perfect for them. Great recap.
And we have all kinds of opportunities to participate.
Yeah. So yeah, it sounds like a lot more in depth, well, I suppose
You
that
would
whole
love
COVID
it.
thing
Yep.
kinda shut stuff down and then,
The first year we did it, we didn't have a project for 2 years out,
Yeah.
right? So we
Yeah.
had to figure out
right, so, good.
when's the
Very
thing to
cool.
start, right? Where we
And we're
put people.
statewide now.
Let us still one or two people and stuff too.
Others, please, questions before I dominate this whole conversation?
No, but to say, overall, we did have a good experience, I know other people, would say, but we did have, because there were communication and people worked together, and it all came together with our portion of it, so.
I was excited to get on the project and to see one of the first DBE list names that I asked Barb who was on it, was you, Jolene, was Hanson, to have your team, and the relationship that you had with Dale and the rest of the team on the project. It was great having Hanson on the project.
I learned a lot, and especially, we don't do a lot of like change orders or work orders or that kind of stuff, so we are hands held. We just crush.
You guys did great.
No, that's a lesson that sometimes is not always received well, especially from me when I say it to DBEs, is, that importance of relationship building, as opposed to other strategies that are used. And you all of what you said just supports that relationships are important, and I think it's our responsibility as owners on this project to create those opportunities for those relationships to happen and take place, and hopefully they grow into partnerships and other opportunities. But yes, I can't say that enough, how important relationships are to this work. I'm gonna go ahead and just continue on with my, one thing that I've heard as an argument in terms of why DBEs and having more DBEs on the project is because it also helps with the workforce goals. And I've never seen any data or information to support that. Second, I don't see why or how it would make sense that these small businesses, even if you had all of your workers were women and minorities, wouldn't make a dent
No.
on the goal on this project.
That's right.
So that part of it doesn't make sense. So I guess I'm saying that because, one, I didn't know that, I would say for large subcontractors or subcontractors that have significant work, I think it makes sense, or I would be supportive of having the type of language in the contract that you mentioned about the good faith efforts, but I don't see how that would make sense to have that in your contract. So I hope that's a lesson to us as this group and the large contractors. It's just, it doesn't make sense that these small businesses are, can shoulder the
I think one of the things you have to consider, Ashante, is we're all pulling from the same labor pool. And this isn't like we've got our team and they've got their team. They're all coming from the local unions. And when you look at the broader labor pool in the 7-county metro area, it's comprised of these numbers of people from the different groups. And that's what we're all working with. And so when you go into a project, we're only providing, when you think about the man hours on a job, the London McCrossin joint venture is maybe half. So
It's high for
that would be like doubling the big contractor's goal to get to your desired goal without saying we need participation from the others that are working on the project.
No, I get it. I don't want to make it seem like I don't understand. I'm just saying that these small contractors that only have 3 employees or 2, or sometimes it's even the one person show. There's not much you can squeeze out of that. You know what I mean? But there are significant subcontractors that are going to make a difference, and I think it makes sense to make sure that they're pulling their weight and that they're doing what they're supposed to do, and they're connecting with the folks that they're supposed to connect with, and going to, first of all, they got more people, they've got more resources. Some of these subs are also primes on other projects and in other situations. It just makes more sense, makes more business sense, makes more common sense that we, are looking to those folks to, not that Jolene's workforce is not important and that she can't contribute to the overall, but to some of those requirements that we're putting on a firm of her size doesn't make sense. That's what I'm saying.
So Shante, to support that right there, what we've done and what I've done throughout being the representative for not just the prime, but the subs, is we look at how many projected workforce hours that the contractors have submitted to us. And that's kind of there should be a threshold. When you talk about the big compared to the very small, that's where we should be saying, okay, when it's a firm this small, we're gonna give them guidance to building strong and the other things that we're doing as a team, and hey, we wanna be involved, and that's what Jolene and I have always had together, is that team. I know the size of hers, and actually she used to have 10. We used to be the number we talked about, now she's at 15. I'm like, whoo, good for you, but having that threshold, knowing here's your opportunities, but not saying you're not gonna get paid if you don't do this and this and this, so I totally support it. Know that it is something that primes have been trying to work towards, having that accepted.
Yeah. No, I said having those
But
conversations.
can we talk about what she said, though? This is my point, this is
Yep.
what I've heard in this damn room ever since we've started when it comes to goals that are unattainable, right? I was given the naughty stick. Now, we shouldn't have people feel like they're
Exactly.
doing all of this and still getting a naughty stick for not getting to something there's no way they can fucking get to, because we're at 20 and 8.
Even the prime.
Oh, absolutely, and that's why it's like,
Right?
okay, you're punishing the prime, I mean, I just,
And it's a trickle. It's my team.
It's just the feeling that
Yeah.
you're being roped, and that's what, every time somebody says to me, it's just a goal, we know it can't be met, but it's a goal, but you're kicking the contractors' butts about it all the time and giving them a naughty stick.
and then what you'll say is it's
That's
the
a
goal,
problem to
or
me.
your good faith, and then all of a sudden they come back and they say your good faith ain't, not
No.
me, because I'm little, I'd be just like, I don't know what to tell you, but I
Can
don't
I
know
ask
what I'm talking about.
where this naughty stick is coming from?
Cause it's not us.
I hear it in this damn room. I hear it from the community members that are sitting in here. Go to the
I'm
News
objectively
Studios,
asking, because
Ramsey
I don't know. I'm
all of that,
objectively
though,
asking.
I mean, it is, it's a sense that you have to meet this goal that we know you can't meet, and if you're not meeting it, even though we're not gonna enforce it and put penalties on you, we're still gonna make you jump through about 8,000 hoops for us to make you feel like you're accepted. And I'm not just talking this room, every contractor at the different entities is going through the same thing, and what we don't wanna lose, you guys, and this goes to the workforce people and the unions and everybody, we don't wanna lose people like her that says, fuck this, I'm gonna work on all these private projects with my 5 plans. I'm not gonna do this anymore because it's too much ownership for me to do. Can I get work?
I think
Sure,
it's a
I'm
lot
gonna
on-
do
I
the
think it's a
do
lot
it.
on
The
your
other
mind.
thing
The
to
goal is a
support
lot
what
too.
she's saying is when we talk about good faith efforts and what we're doing, okay, a lot, I'd say 80% or more of those good faith efforts that we're doing are not gonna have immediate results. You might see results 4 years down the line, 5 years. Let's look at buildings, how great it is to see that growth. Those results take time to happen. So when I go to an event this week, hey, it was high school students. How is that event that I went to this week gonna impact this project? Guess what? 0. But you know what? Down the line, those kids that now go to Building Strong are gonna say, I talked to somebody on the light rail project that got me interested in this. That might not be for 3-4 years. It's still making a difference,
Or it could-
but because it's not changing the numbers right now, that's part of the naughty stick.
So let me,
So
go ahead.
the naughty stick, you asked where the naughty stick comes
Yeah.
from. They send a form to me, so I'm gonna work on the joint venture. They send a form to me and says, what's your workforce commitment? Cause they gotta supply that form
Sure.
for whoever, probably the council or, and not when you're doing it. So I say, I don't have one. Here's my sheet.
Okay.
They're gonna be expected to push down on me, say, do you got,
Sure.
you just don't have one, because everyone's gonna say they just don't have one.
Sure.
So then they come back with a bunch of forms and people are like me saying, I don't have enough people, so I don't have time to do this.
Mhm.
They send those forms to you guys.
Mhm.
My guess is the naughty stick would come from you saying, or you would just say, oh, okay, that's just what it is? Then let's not have the forms.
Okay, so I'll let Dan go and then I'll provide a response.
I'd argue to Chris's point, like, all this other outreach we're doing, if somebody gets a job in 3-4 years, or if they get them a job today or tomorrow, they don't end up working on this job, that should still be a success for this project, right? I said this before, I was on a job, where I was one of 150 electricians, and they didn't get the next job, and I got laid off. And I took the call for the job, contractor doesn't get the next job. I worked my ass off, I wanted to get on the core crew, right? I wanted to be the guy, right? All that effort over all those months got me, you want to be the first one laid off or the last one laid off? Right? And so that was nice, right? Like I get to have some input in my destiny, right? Like, okay, cool. It taught me a lesson, like, on a big project, we're gonna man up, man down. You're almost doing a disservice to people to put them on, to stick them with this project. You can get them into the industry and get them on a small project, on one of Jolene's other jobs, where they're doing a good, and they're gonna stay there. Or if you're gonna be on the one that peaks and drops, what's the better outcome? So that doesn't take that, the goals are great. I'm not saying we shouldn't have goals. I'm not saying that we're ever gonna get away from goals, and that we shouldn't have goals. We absolutely should have goals. But we should use the projects we have and get what we can out of them.
Yep.
The good faith efforts, get them into other stuff, to, raise awareness of the industry and what careers are
Or
available.
just check a box.
Right, and it's hard, it's impossible to, legislate common sense stuff like this, but I think all of us here can understand that, right? Like, we're actually doing good things, it's just not showing up necessarily here, right? But we've all done good work on this. BSC was started for this, right? How many years? Like 7 years ago. Right? And the project's still going, but the project ain't always gonna be here. There's gonna be another project, so.
Project was involved from day one. Project has only had 8 people total from BSC on the project. But I'd love to be able to go and talk to about 100 students that were part of BSC that will tell you the light rail had a very great impact.
We got another 100 people into the industry.
Yep.
Right?
So
How do we get the credit for that?
So here's what I'll say. So because there's been a lot of talk over at MDHR about what is good faith efforts, because you won't find a definition anywhere, right? So the interpretation and application of what does it mean, how do you execute a good faith effort, what would be an acceptable good faith effort, here's what I'll say to that. So having underutilization within your workforce is not a violation. We enforce the MHR. That is not a violation. You're not breaking the law or in any sort of receiving end of a naughty stick because your workforce of 15 is underutilized. It's fine. What good faith efforts speak to is taking that prompt corrective action and opportunity for when opportunities do arrive. What measures are you doing, such as working with Building Strong, having a relationship with the unions, going to events to recruit for you? Say you do have an open position, so you go to an event to say, like, I'm actively now, like, I have positions to fill. That, in my mind, would be representative and indicative of a good faith effort. So it's more representative of making sure that opportunities that present themselves, whether it be none or maybe a bunch, what are you doing that when those opportunities do arrive? So even if you reply to Chris's form and say like, I don't have any because my workforce is my workforce. We have a lot of contractors that they have what they have, right? That's fine. That's fine. Objectively speaking, it is what it is. What I'm then curious to know is like, should an opportunity arise, like what measures do you have baked in to say like, if I do have an opening come up, my first call is going to be to Rick or to Dan or to somebody and say like, here's an opportunity that's arisen. Is there anyone on the bench that's ready to go that is a woman or a person of color that would still, they have to still qualify, they have to be able to do the work 100%. You still want the best people on the job. That in my mind would be what, when I think of good faith efforts, what is a good faith effort? How do I denote and document, provide, and report back on my good faith effort? It certainly is not, how am I gonna go find 3 women to replace 3 men within my workforce? It is not that. So I think that, and then the reason that it is, and I hear what you're saying, that you're being asked from probably a multitude of places about good faith effort, What are you doing for that? For us, just in this corner of the world from MDHR, us asking about like, okay, underutilization, what would be kind of the good faith effort plan? Again, it doesn't have to be exhaustive. It can be a working relationship with building strong communities. For when opportunities arise, I reach out to Rick, or I have a relationship with Dan so that I know what's going on in the unions. That's acceptable to me.
That's acceptable, okay.
That's
So
acceptable.
it doesn't have to be an
That's acceptable.
ongoing thing where you come and
That's
you say,
acceptable to me.
okay, show us what your good faith
Right.
efforts are.
Because it's about taking that prompt
And I'm
corrective
like,
action when
I don't have to
opportunities
hire anyone,
arise.
so then I wouldn't need,
That's acceptable to me.
Okay.
I would accept that. And
Okay.
and
And that-
I will say though, I will
Hear what
have,
he's saying too, because he just said, you're having to do this at multiple different places. He's talking to you how their approach is.
Yeah.
But there's other nuances with other entities.
I can't speak-
that-
yeah, I can't
Right,
speak to
exactly.
that.
That's why,
But-
that's
but
my
I could,
question here.
if
Remember that you're hearing from MDHR.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not hearing from the U of M or
right,
City of
right.
St. Paul.
And I just know
or-
like we have to ask because it's in the law that I have to.
and I'm just trying to help them out because they're
100%.
required
I
to,
know, I have to follow law.
you know,
So I just want to clear that because I know that there's a lot of duplication. There's duplication in reporting. I have to collect it because it's the law. There's ask about duplication of good faith effort documentation. I have to ask because it's the law. So I hear what you're saying, and I think it's fantastic feedback that there is just organic duplication within just being a part of a project in the construction industry. And I don't know the easy slap a card down the table, here's your answer. But what I can do is provide, if you have questions from something that's a requirement coming from Krista through MDHR, or from, I'm more than happy to clear that up. And we will go back and look at things like the monthly utilization reports, like what we really need. If there is an easier path, I'm not opposed to exploring what that easier path would be. Because I need to get the data that I need, but if there's another way to do it that still gives us what we need and is less burdensome on the primes, on subs, we're not opposed to that either. Okay.
perfect, thank you.
And I'll just add a couple things, and just from the council's perspective. Folks in the community, when I say this, they vilify me, but the council does not have any regulatory or compliance authority or responsibility relative to workforce, like we did when I was at MnDOT. However, the community, the public, the residents in the region, the elected officials on the Corridor Management Committee don't give a you know what. So we're
I
held.
won't even say what they said at the end of your meeting.
We're held as the person that's responsible for compliance and regulatory when we don't. So, but I say that to say it's in our best interest on these large public projects that have a lot of eyes on them for us to know what the workforce looks like, which is why there's a LCP tracker associated with that project. I think the other thing that for folks around this room, that what I would advocate for, to the point you made, is when I was at MnDOT and we got those funds from FHWA, and yes, we couldn't get money from FHWA for folks that were placed somewhere else, but But the one thing that I did finesse in the program plan, and once they approved it, I was like, okay, I got it in writing that you approved, that people who are working on this project, that we could get credit for anybody that came through our training program that worked on this project and get those funds from FHWA. I say that to say this, I don't know if that same voice or that same emphasis is at other agencies to generate that kind of, so we should be advocating for those types of things, because the argument I made is this is civil construction, it's the same contractors that work on our projects, so it's gonna contribute to the highway heavy industry down the line, and I was able to make that argument. We need to advocate for that type of position, because it should be a success if we get people placed in the industry and they're working on projects, even if it's not this project. I can't say that it's a success for selfishly for my project, but somebody's in the industry. So that part of it, I definitely understand, but I also, it is in my mandate and responsibility to not overburden small businesses, not only through process paperwork relative to small business, but also workforce. We need to make sure that we're not overburdening, I can't even talk, but you get my point. We want to make sure that they can participate successfully. Again, you're not going to hear me say that the goals don't matter, or I know we can't meet them. Even though I have some heartburn, or I shouldn't say heartburn, confusion about how the goals were put together, I leave that aside. I just say the goals are the goals. But what I'm interested in and what I will always advocate for, and when I was doing this work at MnDOT and doing workforce training and involved in that, that was some of the most rewarding work that I did, because you get to hear the individual stories. And when people say this was life-changing, that's rewarding. Everybody tells, I get to hear all the wrong stuff and the stuff that's going wrong. So to Tyler's point, we want to know some of the positive things that are going on in the industry. What can we talk about? What can we promote to our leadership? What can we highlight? Those things, because we have these goals. And it's easy to lose focus on goals, but this is about individuals and people's livelihoods that's what this is about. So I don't want us to lose sight of that. So I'm done off my soapbox.
Thank you again.
Thank you, Julie.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Bye, Barb. Bye.
Bye, Barbie doll. Oops, that's on.
All right, any other, because I think this was very good conversation, and hopefully we can also hear from other DBs who
We have
in
some
small
more
business
tonight.
that work in that we come in here and learn from.
I would also like to recommend
Definitely.
bringing in some of the individuals on the workforce side that were brought in for this
That'd
project
be awesome.
through BSC. We have some great
That would
ones.
be awesome. So, next on the agenda, consent business, DB achievement report. I think we actually looked at some of this and had some questions. We have some takeaways that we're going to work on this, but if there's any other questions relative to that, let me know. All right.
Look at those percentages to date is all I have to say for all three contracts. So,
All right.
So I have a question on that. Shaw Lundquist is a DBE, right?
No.
they're too big.
They're too
No,
big.
we're a
to be-
minority-owned business, but we're not
Yeah.
church
They're
certified
just-
anymore, we're
yeah.
growing out of that, so. No, that's all right.
They
Don't
are
apologize.
one of the largest agent-owned businesses in the country,
Right.
yes.
So shouldn't they get some credit?
No.
Damn.
No, you know what? You're actually right about that. Again, these are the conversations I'm having. We don't have at the council, I can't speak for any other agency, we don't have a way to account for that in our reporting, in our
Right.
systems. But the council is, we don't have a way to account for that right now. And we're trying,
For
for
Charlotte
business that
Frisbee,
are
I believe,
not
but we're
certified,
Ah,
that are
got it.
participating
Yeah.
on
They're
our
using minority
projects.
business, but they're not
Cause there's
certified.
many minority
Yeah, there's a lot of
businesses
that,
or
right.
women-owned businesses that we are partnered with, but their
About
size is too big, they're,
We
you know.
count ourselves at like 100% towards, like Minneapolis Public School projects
Yeah.
and,
Yeah,
you know,
utility
some
work
other,
and all that
yeah,
kind of
government
stuff.
agencies, but, not on everything.
But no, that's a, we should recognize that, even if it doesn't count towards DBE, we should recognize that. Anyways, John, are you leading us through? Yes.
Yep.
I gotta point out too, our next meeting is 6 o'clock just down the street, so I got plenty of time.
We don't,
Oh.
we're already late, so
I
it's
gotta
gonna be the
catch a
shortest
flight.
ever.
We gotta get moving.
Yeah.
And why are you guys here tonight?
Okay, we can move to
Ta-da.
non-consent and Krista.
Thank you, Tyler. All right, so first part is of course our DBEs. So currently on site, as you can see who we have, working hard and heavy. What's great, the ones that are on there have been on pretty much from the start and will be with us except for one or two that you're seeing there to the project completion almost. And another big part of them is the higher part of our 16% goal, and we're at over 23.5% participation for their contract, so it's very nice. So on to the next one.
Can I ask, for your portion of the work, when is that, supposed to end?
We don't, no, I'm kidding. We keep saying every year, we say 2 more years.
Okay,
No,
it's just,
seriously, it will be
Substantial
done.
completion should be the end of next year,
Yeah.
okay, just
Yep.
curious.
approximately.
We're starting to see it, and even with the pictures and with talking about how many of the stations have already been handed over and stuff.
Yeah.
There's stuff, and punch lists are being done, closeout is starting, so.
I was just curious.
No, it's a great question, Connie, thank you. So right here it talks about, like 85% of our DBE companies still have open items remaining for the project, meaning either change orders or different things, there's material, various things that need to be done. DBE participation goal is 16%, contract to date is over 23%. It's great if you look back to the very first light rail, project, and the numbers were below the goal, so it's really fun to see. Currently, we're working one-on-one with, actually now it's up to 7 firms on a daily basis regarding assistance with their need for the change orders and everything, and the documentation that they need, as well as some struggles that some are having on the job site. So we have a great team. There's at least 8 people on the LMJV working with them on a daily basis. The LMJV is in the process of creating the closeout procedures and training for our DBEs to help them with the closeout, such as punch lists and all that, O&M manuals and everything. So, thank you. Next slide. Unless there's any questions regarding the DBE part of the civil contract, and we will go on to workforce. And then next slide, total hours to date. Now these numbers are from August because September numbers were not yet complete. An LCP tracker that I pull my information from. So as you can see, total project to date, and this has been holding true for pretty much the last 4 years, about 23.5% POCI. Female participation is just under 8%. For the August hours, 27% POCI total, and females at 4.5%. The great thing I want to show you guys is our next slide. And take a look at the POCI percentages. This is broken down per trades. Some of our largest workforce hours on here, the carpenters, the operators, laborers and such are exceeding the 32% goals. And this is during the heavy time of construction, you guys, where our numbers are high. This is a huge kudos to our unions that we work with and our associations.
Did I say 0.44 for equipment operators?
Yeah,
What is it?
0.44 for equipment operators.
go, could you
Zero
please,
point four four?
for POCI, correct,
Wow, that's low. It's really, really low.
because they're on other projects right now.
Okay.
It's
Is
the
that current
things,
month? Is that
yeah,
current
that
month?
was August.
Okay, that was just.
Just
I
for
think
the
it was
month,
August,
you
'cause I was
guys,
like, I remember
this
those meetings,
report,
and I didn't.
I do the breakdown of the trades per month because of, it really shows, and then we do the graph that shows, and I only do the graphs, not at every meeting, because we show it quarterly, that shows the trends of the busy season compared to the off season.
And more kind of the vertical stuff is going now with
yes.
finishing up the stations and stuff.
Yep,
Again, vertical goals for us.
yeah,
Okay,
Very
yeah, I
good,
just seen it,
Joanne.
I was like, oh.
I'm glad you brought that up
yes.
though, Jolyn,
Yeah,
thank you.
that was good.
Yeah, and as you can see, and I'll bring it up, I'll bring the elephant up in the room, the female participation is extremely low. And we've been talking with people about it throughout. Highway heavy is a different nut in the game. And it's a tough one, but it's one that we work hard on and commit to that outreach. That's why our partnership with Building Strong and with our union, our signatory, that we're signatory to, is the key to our success moving forward. But those goals are tough.
Can I ask a question to the trades folks? What I did see there, even though this is the month, understand that. First of all, let me make sure my assumption is correct. Carpenters and pile drivers are the same union or same trade union.
Well, we have them separated though.
I know, I'm just asking
They
a
are,
question.
they are part of the
Yeah.
same.
Yeah,
The
they're
allied
under,
trades.
Right,
Or the-
but both of
the
those,
carburetors, we-
and
yeah.
millwrights, if we had them on there.
So, but I saw, pile drivers were at 40-some%, carpenters at 30-some%. Is there anything, is that, first of all, is that what we see? Is there something that they're doing as a union hall to, in recruitment wise or others, or is this an anomaly? Do we know?
Well, I know that Carpenters Union, which is all the three unions, they have, over the last several years, put in place some initiatives so that they can encourage women and POCI individuals to get into the unions, hold special, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, classes just tailored for those populations to get them, into the unions and have them be successful. So I think that has worked some.
And I can jump in. So carpenters are just one of all of the trades that have really been intentional about bringing, diversifying their workforce through registered apprenticeship and the different pre-job or apprenticeship preparatory programs that they're involved in. So they host us down there for a 3-week period every year. They did it twice actually. We ran 2 groups through them last year. But they also have their own initiatives. They did Apex grant they received through the Department of Labor and Industry. And they came up with some pretty cutting edge efforts in that as they put people through their program, they also just infused them in with the other apprentices who were actually training at the time. So they were doing the same training that the apprentices were and interacting with them, and they could learn a lot more about what's going on. So it really helped them transition into the carpenters and then also affected retention for them as well. But finishing trades are doing the same thing. Cement masons, all the trades are really doing a great job of becoming more involved in different efforts, and supporting Building Strong is one of them. But each of them are doing multiple things to bring people into the program. So if you went to the Department of Labor and Industry, my old employer, You could take a look at the percentages within registered apprenticeship and how much they've increased just in the past 5 years, just in the decade, and you can go back 2 decades. And within the last 20 years, participation by people of color has more than doubled in registered apprenticeship. So, and the number of apprentices have doubled as well. So in the year 2000, we're talking about 6,000 to 6,500 registered apprentices in the state. 90% of them are always in construction. 95% of them are in union construction. Today, if you take a look at the numbers, we're sitting just over 11,000, probably 11,500, somewhere in that area. And the department put out the new numbers, they've really broken down, but you're right around 23% for people of color. The number of women have increased to about 8%, and veterans are real close to that. So,
Rick, the 23% is metro,
statewide.
statewide.
Statewide. And you're seeing, Building Strong Communities has a presence in the Duluth area, Iron Range, Rochester, the metro area. So, Building Strong Communities is that intentionality that is starting to be reflected in the numbers that you're seeing. We're just one of those efforts. But if you went to DLI's, and you can look up their quarterly report, it's on their new one is published right now, and you can take a look at the number of women, people of color, and veterans that are in the program. You can see that increase because of the intentionality of what union construction programs are doing.
I'll just say too that
Go ahead.
I took over as president of the state building trades last year in February, right? And so last year and this year at our convention, we passed resolutions committing to have our membership reflect the community we serve, right? There's really been a sea change around this, right? Like Central Corridor electricians, when I was working for electricians, when they did the Central Corridor, we couldn't make 11%, right? They're now 23, 24. I mean, we're not meeting with 32, we're
Right.
way ahead of where we were. We keep saying that every time we have these meetings, but, it's a journey and we're on the path.
And if you take a look at the percentages within the apprenticeship programs, many of them are way over 30%. And of representing people of color and women in the programs themselves. And so it's been pretty fun. I've been doing this for a long time. And it's been fun to see Minnesota lead the way, to be very honest with you. I'm just today talking with the Department of Energy, and they're bringing in the deputy director next week to take a look and interview with Building Strong Communities apprentices who have been through the program over at St. Paul's JETC, the 110 electrical JETC, just to interview them and sit down and learn how this has affected their lives and how they got to it and what they thought about this program. So that's one thing. And then I can say from my standpoint, that's my 3rd year at Building Strong. The first year that we had panels, I would go out to the field and ask for people to come back in that are journey workers, that haven't been through BSc, to provide that experience of what it's like to be in the construction industry. National Apprenticeship Week is November 17th through the 23rd this year. I have 4 panels scheduled, 1 for veterans and 3 for Building Strong Communities. And all of them are going to be graduates of Building Strong Communities because they've been journeying out. They've been graduating. So I'm going back to our graduates to come in and be that speaker. So it's pretty fun to watch and watch it move. And it's just going to keep on continuing to grow. And we're having a lot of fun with it.
No, good. That's good to hear. I know still when I look at those apprenticeship numbers, for women, they're still, and again, it's not a popular opinion when I say it, but I don't know where we're going to get 20% from when we know what's in
I don't know why the number is 20%, it should be 50%.
That's not even go down that path. But what
Out there on the street, I think it's
Krista was the chair of that committee. Ask her.
What I will say is this, if you have any ideas or things that are working for women, like I said, we don't have external workforce responsibilities, but I do have some responsibilities on the council's internal workforce. And we have the same issue relative to women for our operators. We're like underutilized. When you look at it, it's like, we'd have to stop hiring only women for like 270 people to not be underutilized for women. So we're not in there, we don't see them in the applicant pool.
What's your
We
goal?
don't see
What's
them
your
there.
goal for operators?
What's that?
What's your goal as council for bus driver?
I don't have it right offhand for women.
What percentage, yeah, is it half and half or is it 20?
Oh, no, it's, if I had to guess, it's probably in the 50-some% range.
That's my question when we came out with 20%. We made the argument that we're gonna get to 32 based on demographics. Well, if you move that demographic to that conversation, like, I think we don't know what the number is.
One thing you have to keep in mind was that COVID resulted in a lot of women leaving the workforce. Not just the construction workforce, but all, through all industries. And that has not improved. Slowly, but it really is not back to what its numbers, but COVID really impacted.
We got work to do.
Our cohort
Yes.
was 80% BIPOC. So of the 109 who completed, 105 who completed. So.
No, I think building strong communities, and if I haven't told you, I do have conversations once in a while with Aaron, and so he told me about the 80%. So I always tell him I'm glad, and even so.
Thomas Scott
Good job.
has been
Yes, I know Thomas.
my right hand ever
as
since
well.
I came in here.
Yeah, no, Thomas is. Yeah, no. So I do keep tabs and have those conversations internally. So yes.
And we're also, I don't know if you know, the city of Minneapolis gave us a grant too to hire a navigator. And we're in the final stages of that. We're gonna hire someone who's gonna sit in the North Minneapolis Workforce Center full-time, recruiting people, not just to get into our cohort, but to put them in an apprenticeship program.
To be your program into all apprenticeship programs.
Well, no, that's what I want to hear, because now that we're, everyone along the Blue Line corridor is saying, hey, how can our people, we need to, and I'm saying, well, they need to start getting into apprenticeships now, not when the project starts. So to be able to relay that information to folks along the corridor, that this is something that the trades are doing, is good information to have, so, yes.
We have half an hour left, and we still have the systems updates and Hopkins updates. And I don't know that we've had plenty of committee discussion, I think.
Well, I know Mike is going to be very fast, so.
Okay. Can we move along,
We're
please?
definitely going to move along. But I also think that some of this conversation and discussion is important.
It is important.
And everybody can read what's in these reports. But that said, yes, we are going to move along.
All right, systems, thank you. Interesting, so we, mock interviews at Summit Academy. We participated last Friday. Joe Penny showed up for Aldrich, and Premier was representative. We also Aldrich is gonna participate at the Summit Academy Electric Operational Advisory Meeting that's gonna be on October 29th, just from an industry perspective. So I'm gonna participate on there, hopefully get project manager to join me. We've added manufacturer Pavoni and Aurora fabricators to the project, so they'll be counted as DBE going forward. We're still anticipating 8,000 hours of craft labor per month. July was 7,500, August was 7,800. The POCI numbers speak for themselves. I mean, overall, I think we worked 115,000 hours on the project, and we're about 23% POCI and 11% women throughout. And I have not been on any project that has 11% women, that many hours on any project anywhere in the country. So I have not seen that. So, if we focus on the electricians, because they represent 78% of the hours, they're holding steady at 12%. Female participation, 27 in July. In August, Marie just changed a little bit. So if you go to the next slide, if you go to August, we're at 12 and 24 for the electricians, if I'm reading that right. So we're holding steady there overall. And
Are you including linemen and electricians?
yeah, linemen, electricians, the fiber optics, any SCADA, anybody, 292, 160. Yeah.
And 160 and 49 under operators?
49 under operators.
No 160 operators?
No 160 operators. No, they're all electricians. So that's what we're counting there. And our focus has been with Premier and with Gunner and with Elite because they're the major subs. Next slide. And this is who worked on the projects for September, during July and August, and September. So that's what we got going on.
Any questions for Mike?
All right, I'll just go real quick through this. Next slide, please. So this is just a list of our DBE commitments that we have for the project. This was in the slideshow last month, so nothing's changed there. It's just that we're at 18% of the goal, which was the goal. Next slide. I updated this DBE project timeline. Waterproofing by experts has been pushed to the end of November, possibly the end of December now. But we have, in August, when we got started on the project, Pete's Water and Sewer was out there, Gunner's out there now. So yeah, next slide. These are some pictures of Pete's Water and Sewer, completing tie-ins, water main installs, sanitary installs. They're installing all manholes and storm piping, wrapping up their contract work, I think it was last week, and they'll be back in the spring.
To answer your question, there is one equipment operator for Aldrich. That's a 160 guy. Yeah. Just Benjamin. Yeah, Benjamin. He's an operator, equipment operator.
All right, current workforce participation. For the month of August, we had 50.25 hours on that. We only had 1.25 hours of women working on the project. So that doesn't really reflect on there, but 27% POCI.
It was 2.13% for women, 8% for, no, 16% for POCI.
Why don't I
For August, that was just August.
swear I updated it based on your report link? All right, I'll have to go back and look at that.
That's okay.
And so, yeah, this is wrong. There was 15, you know what, I thought I updated these slides, sent them to William.
I think these are still the slides that she had initially
Yeah,
submitted
I had
for
updated this.
the pre-cons. That was in the
Yeah.
pre-cons.
Yeah, so I can't really recall off the top of my head what they were, but for some reason he didn't include the current slides.
I can touch base with William and we'll update it.
Okay, I think that would be the same for the chart below. Yeah, that's what I have. Yeah, because it wasn't African American participation, it was Hispanic that we had on the site. I apologize for that, I don't know why those weren't updated.
We'll get it straight. One thing I would like to mention, relative to Pete's Water and Sewer. I know that Lunda has a mentor protege with them that we're highlighting. We came out and took pictures of them on the site. So just wanted to recognize Lunda for that effort and partnership with Pete's Water and Sewer. Again, anytime that I can or our team can brag about the stuff that you guys are doing, I will take that opportunity. So good job.
Thank you.
Open discussion.
I thought we'd had that
Vote.
all straight through.
Anything
We can do a little more.
bring up? I will, much as I like to talk, no one will never think that I'm an introvert, but we are, when I say we, the council is into our, deeply into our effort to bring us into compliance with the new DV program rule. Part of that plan will be some external outreach that we will be involving our extended partners, contractors, and we're going to look to have a third-party consultant conduct those sessions. I've had a few conversations with some AGC and folks. Definitely told me where they're biting at the bit to provide that input. So we will definitely have and be ready to communicate what those new expectations and things that will be coming into place, both with contract language and with our monitoring processes. So I just wanted to let you all know that, and we expect that to occur sometime next month in November, mid-November. December meeting. Yes, we've had some conversations about, the construction season slowdown. Do we continue with the virtual meeting or cancel? And if so, when to have the next meeting?
It's scheduled, let's just have it, it's virtual.
All right, so we've heard from Elaine. Any other folks?
Is there one in November?
No, not one. We did make the decision to go every other month. So we did change up some things because, yeah, as the project starts to wind down, it gets less to meet every single month. So no, we're not meeting in November.
Okay.
Any other thoughts? I would say we keep December, make it virtual. It just feels like, because then if we don't do it, then it's February.
Right.
And that feels like especially if it is a extended fall, there could be more. I just feel like we could touch base.
Crystal, this is.
All right, it's virtual December. Do we have a date? John, do you know the date?
It's at the end of the slide, so, presentation.
There we go, December 19th, 2/4 virtual. We'll see everybody. I will say that it was good to see you all here today, face to face, and look forward to our virtual meeting in December. With that, Elaine, you're good to go. This meeting is
Special guest, thank you for coming in.
Oh, so much thank you to Jolene. I really appreciate it. I think we all appreciated hearing your experience. Definitely learning experience for me, and hopefully we can have some more DBs come and share their experience. So thank you. We really appreciate it because we know how busy you are, and this was not easy for you to take this time to come
I
back
haven't
in.
been in like a building like this in a long time. Except for London yesterday, I suppose, but I was like, oh.
And it's not because I wanted the meeting to be over.
I'm
I was
just giving you a hard
concerned
time.
about everyone getting a chance to talk.